The silence in a courtroom is heavy. It doesn't feel like peace. It feels like a predator waiting to pounce. I sat there, my hands trembling beneath the wooden table, clutching a tissue that had been shredded to pieces hours ago. To my left, my lawyer, a woman who usually radiated confidence, looked tired. To my right, across the aisle, sat Mark, my ex-husband, the father of my two beautiful children, Leo and Mia. He was wearing the navy blue suit I bought him for his sister's wedding 3 years ago. He looked calm, collected, the picture of a responsible, grieving father trying to save his children from a confused mother. He wouldn't look at me. He was staring straight at the judge, playing the role of the victim so perfectly that for a split second, even I almost believed him. But I wasn't the villain here. I was a mother. I am a mother. For 10 years, I packed the lunches. I kissed. The scraped knees, I stayed up all night when the fever spiked. I was the one who knew that Leo couldn't sleep without the hallway light on and that Mia was terrified of thunderstorms. Mark was the fun dad. The weekend dad. The dad who showed up for the applause but disappeared for the work. But none of that mattered today. Today, the only thing that mattered to the court, to the judge, and to the society judging me was who I slept with. The judge, a man in his 60s with stern glasses and an unreadable expression, adjusted his papers. "Mr. Peterson," he said, nodding to Mark's lawyer. "You may proceed." Mark's lawyer stood up. He was a shark in a cheap suit, a man who specialized in tearing women apart. He walked slowly toward the witness stand where Mark was sitting. "Mark," he began, his voice dripping with faux sympathy, "tell the court why we are here today. Why are you requesting full, supervised custody of the children?" Mark cleared his throat. He finally glanced at me and his eyes were cold, dead. There was no love left there, not even the memory of friendship. "I'm here because I'm worried about the safety and moral upbringing of my kids," Mark said. His voice didn't shake. "Since the divorce, the environment in their mother's house has changed. It's no longer a wholesome place for children. She is exposing them to a lifestyle that is ... confusing, damaging. I felt the air leave my lungs. A lifestyle? That's what he called love. That's what he called the first time in my life I had ever felt truly seen. He was talking about Sarah. I remembered the night I told Mark one wanted a divorce. It wasn't about Sarah back then. It was about the loneliness. The crushing weight of being married to a man who looked through me, not at me. I had tried so hard to be the wife everyone expected. I baked the cookies. I hosted the dinners. I smiled until my jaw ached. But inside, I was dying. When I met Sarah, it wasn't a scandal. It was like breathing oxygen after holding my breath. For 30 years, she didn't ask me to shrink. She didn't ask me to pretend. She just loved me. And for that crime, the crime of being happy, Mark was trying to take away the only thing I loved more than her, my babies. "Can you be more specific, Mark?" The lawyer pressed, pacing in front of the judge. "She has a woman living there," Mark said, dropping his voice to a whisper, as if saying the word was dirty. "They share a bedroom. My daughter, Mia, she's only 6. She's starting to ask questions. She asked me why Mommy kisses Sarah the way she used to kiss Daddy. It's inappropriate. It's psychological abuse to force that confusion on a child." "Objection!" My lawyer shut up, but her voice lacked its usual fire. "Relevance. The sexual orientation of a parent is not grounds for custody changes under the state law." "It goes to judgment, Your Honor," Mark's lawyer countered smoothly. "It goes to the stability of the home. We are arguing that the mother is prioritizing her." I stared at the photograph. It was high definition, explicit, and undeniable. It showed me in a hotel room surrounded by drugs, engaged in an act so graphic it made my stomach churn. It was my face, my hair, my eyes. But as the initial shock wave passed and the room spun around me, clarity hit me like a lightning bolt. My lawyer was packing her bag, shaking her head in disgust. "I'm done," she whispered, not even looking at me. Mark was smirking, a tiny victorious curl of his lip. That only I could see. He had won. He had used technology to paint me as a monster. Mrs. Peterson, Judge Holloway boomed, his voice dripping with contempt. You are hereby stripped of all visitation rights pending a criminal investigation into ... It's fake. I sighed. My voice was small, barely a whisper. Silence. The judge roared. You have disgusted this court enough. I tease fake. I screamed, standing up. The chair screeched against the floor. The bailiff stepped forward, reaching for his handcuffs. But I didn't care. I grabbed the photo from the table and held it up. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They were steady with the rage of a mother protecting her cubs. Your Honor, look at the stomach, I demanded, pointing at the flawless skin of the woman in the photo. Sit down or you will be held in contempt. Look at IT, I shouted, tearing open the buttons of my blazer. I didn't care about dignity. I cared about the truth. I pulled up my shirt, exposing my midriff to the entire courtroom. A gasp rippled through the room. Do you see this? I cried, tracing the jagged silver line that ran across my lower abdomen. This is a 7-inch scar. I got it 10 years ago during an emergency C-section to save Leo's life. Mark knows it's there. He was standing right there when they cut me open. I slammed the photo down on the judge's bench. The woman in this picture, her skin is perfect. She hasn't bled for her children. I have. The judge froze. He looked at my scar. He looked at the photo. He looked at the scar again. The silence that followed was heavier than the one before. But this time, it was the silence of a predator realizing he had been caught. Mark's face went pale. The smirk vanished, replaced by sheer panic. He stood up abruptly. Your Honor, she could have edited it. Used makeup ... Sit down, Mr. Peterson, the judge said. His voice was no longer loud. It was terrifyingly quiet. He picked up the photo and held it under the light. He looked at the metadata on the USB drive Mark had submitted. Mr. Vance, the judge said, turning to Mark Shark of a lawyer. Did you verify the source of these images? Vance, realizing the ship was sinking, stepped away from Mark. I received them from my client, Your Honor. I assumed... You assumed, the judge repeated. He took off his glasses. He looked at Mark with a fury that made the previous anger look like a gentle breeze. Mr. Peterson, creating non-consensual pornography to frame a mother and perjure yourself in my courtroom is a felony. Bailiff. The bailiff didn't move toward me. He moved toward Mark. No, it's her word against mine. Mark stammered as the handcuffs clicked around his wrists. The sound echoed like a gunshot. She's the deviant. She's the one living with a woman? She is a mother, the judge said, ripping the photo in half. And she is the only parent leaving this courtroom with those children today. Case dismissed. With prejudice, full custody awarded to the mother. As they dragged Mark out, screaming, I didn't watch him. I looked at the door, I walked out into the hallway, and there they were. Sarah was holding Mia and Leo was sitting on the bench. They looked up. I fell to my knees, wrapping my arms around them, smelling their hair, feeling their heartbeats. We were safe. Love doesn't look like a navy blue suit. Love looks like showing up. And sometimes, love looks like a scar that proves you survived. If you are fighting a battle right now that feels impossible, look at your scars. They are your proof. You are stronger than their lies. Subscribe if you believe truth always wins.